You're listening to the 23 Personnel Podcast, a Texas Tech athletics podcast where food and sports clash at the goal line. Here are your hosts, Spencer and Michael.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 23 Personnel Podcast. I am your host, Lindsay, joined by Michael. Michael, what's up, man?
Two things real quick. So a player on the Heat just scored 83 points in a game. So that now puts him second highest ever behind Wilt Chamberlain's 100 and above Kobe Bryant's 81. Did I say 83?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So they cut into that. I kind of feel for baseball fans now, though, because I was watching the Spurs Celtics game and they cut into Miami. I don't even know who they were playing, but they were up by 20. It was like 149 to 125 with a minute left. And they cut into that game for like 5 minutes so that we could see. I think it's Bam Adebayo. I don't even know.
It reminds me of those
get him to score 83 points. It's crazy.
Yeah. Those college games from like the D3 level where they would manufacture like, we're going to play 4 men on defense and leave somebody under the goal. Every time we get the ball, we're just going to chuck it to him to get him a scoring record. And it would end like 170 to 155 or something. But you'd have like an individual scoring with like 120 points.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to minimize it or anything because, I mean, the man scored 83 points, but he was 20 of 43. So he shot 43 shots. And that's 46%. I mean, that is nothing to sneeze at. But that just seems, I don't know. I'm not as impressed as I should be on 43 shots.
Well,
maybe most of them were threes. That's the point. I don't know. I don't know anything because they took it off the game I was trying to watch. Speaking of games, so that was the one thing. Second thing, I'm bringing it back to Texas Tech. Always and forever trying. Right before we started recording, Texas Tech was losing 9-2 at home versus UTSA.
a ranked team at least, but dang.
Correct, but rattled off 5 runs in the 6th.
We back?
Oh, we're so back.
All right, but where's it UTSA that rattled off 6 runs?
No. Texas Tech did. It's 9-7. UTSA did not, UTSA did not score in the top of the 7th, so it's now the bottom of the 7th, and we'll see where this one takes us. But yeah, what a wild ride. It was 9-2, and then went to 9-7 as I was pulling up this spreadsheet and thought, or the stat broadcast, and thought, man, what the heck? And it was just all a bunch of singles. I think there was one throwing error. It was just a bunch of small ball that one at a time scratched a run and got 5 of them.
Yeah, I just got the ESPN notification for Bam Adebayo's 83 points. Adebayo.
83. That's incredible.
Second top 10. I couldn't put up 80 points on 40 shots. So
I don't know how many seasons it would have taken me to put up 83 points. Multiple seasons, I'd imagine. Depending on the year for sure.
I mean, maybe if they were like all undefended layup type range jump shots from the block, could I do 80 points on 40 shots? And that's questionable.
Well, he was 7 of 22 from 3. I mean,
so like only a quarter of his points came from 3.
Yeah, it's like he just had a. Hang on, I want to see what his averages are. His average is 44.7% field goal shooter. He was slightly above average tonight, but he just shot a shit ton of shots. That's it.
He's a volume shooter, Michael.
That's it. He's 44.7. He was 46 and change tonight on field goals, but shot 43 of them. Oh, here's the other thing. Oh my goodness. 43 free throws. I'm sorry. This needs an asterisk. I know this is too early, and
so he had 43
probably
field goals? and
hot
43.
Yes,
So he shot 86 times.
he
The ball
had
left his hand with the intent of scoring a point 86 times in this game.
correct. Yes, almost had a double. One rebound shy. That's I mean, that's too bad.
With, about 40 misses, he couldn't pick up, more than 9 of his own misses.
Yeah, so
I was like, nah, let's let somebody else do it.
Played 42 minutes, had 83 points on 20 of 43 shooting, including
That's
7
stupid.
of 22 from 3 and 36 of 43 on free throws.
This is no longer impressive. It's kind of an indictment. Like, the rest of the team just no-showed. He literally did everything.
He did.
Or they tried to get him to do everything. Anyways, yeah. We have Tech basketball to talk about tonight. Mainly how the all Big 12 teams were announced and just burn the conference offices down. What are we even doing? Player of the year averaging 12 points. Like, there are 55 other players in the Big 12 that should have won this award ahead of this guy, but they picked a point guard off of the number 1 team. Congratulations for making Player of the Year award as ridiculous and meaningless as the Heisman these days, taking the quarterback off the number 1 team. We have some Big 12, or not Big 12, Texas Tech snubs to talk about. We could, I guess, Michael, if we have to, talk about Texas Tech's 0-2 week. I don't really feel like it, though. Big 12 tournament prep, which I guess you kind of have to set that up. The AP Top 25, I guess we can tangentially take credit for TCU and BYU sneaking into the others receiving votes for getting credit for beating Texas Tech.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome.
UCF got a bump as well back in the day.
Yeah, then we'll go through the Big 12 Player of the Year list. The women's tournament is done. Congrats, I guess, to West Virginia. Talk about stickball. Softball was and still is on a ridiculous tear. Their game tonight looks like it was canceled. Is the weather... Is it funky up there too, Michael? It's been super windy here.
Well, yeah, it was super windy here, and their game was supposed to be in Stephenville.
Oh, so they're like
Tarleton State,
like in the path of that big storm coming through.
Yes, and I didn't really put all that together, so that's got to be what it was. And I did see that southeast of Abilene, there were some pretty significant storms this evening. So any listeners out there thinking about you guys tonight,
Big
especially
country.
out towards Potosi.
Yep. Baseball update. They are winning. No, sorry. They are losing currently. But they had been winning. They were on a 7-game win streak. No, sorry. They dropped that one stupid game 4 against whoever it was, but then swept this past weekend versus Penn State. And then I don't take in a lot of off-season college football content, but y'all know I'm a big listener of the Solid Verbal. And one of their hosts, if you don't listen to the show, one of their hosts is an Oregon grad and fan. And I feel like, one, we've drawn his ire just because we're one of the more recent games. We're the last game that they won. So he's the last thing he can hit his chest about. Because then he got absolutely destroyed against Indiana. But he's been taking a lot of shots against Texas Tech, particularly in the non-conference scheduling, perception of the Big 12, and like really any chance they get when they're talking about 2026 scheduling, the state of the football playoff, perception of the Big 12. Always
hang
takes a shot at Texas Tech.
Hang on. The other guy's a big Notre Dame fan, so
He's Penn State grad and Notre Dame. So
yeah,
I didn't look up Notre Dame because their schedule is stupid, but Penn State even has a worse schedule. So
Notre Dame sat out in protest from being excluded from the football playoff, so I'd imagine that would skew his judgment slightly.
Yeah, but also his alma mater that he also roots for has a cupcake schedule, which we'll get into. I want to look at the non-conference schedule because we'll get to football later. Unless you want to start with football, probably not.
No.
Questions. What do we learn? Basketball. Let's start basketball.
Okay. All right. Before we dig too deeply, I looked up Kobe Bryant's 81-point game. Way more impressive.
As it would be, but go on.
Of course. Of his 81 points, 18 were from free throws. 18 of 20. So his free throw percentage was better. He was 7 of 13 from 3. That's 54%. And he was 28 of 46 on the night. That's 61% from the field. So just overall, way much more incredible game. A realistic NBA number of free throws. 20, you see guys get that quite a bit, especially, when you're trying to shoot 46 times.
Focal point of the offense.
Yeah, and you're one of the best players on the, on planet Earth that's ever lived. You're going to get a whistle here and there. And so, yeah, he shot 20 free throws, but he did not shoot 43. He did not shoot 43 free throws. Also didn't get the double-double either. Dang.
He wasn't, guys.
Well, he wasn't missing enough in his defense. In his defense, Kobe was draining him. He was white hot at 61% every time.
You can also grab a defensive rebound. I mean that's allowed.
He's got to get open.
Okay.
All right, that's it.
Texas Tech basketball, we talked about it. 0-2 this week. Lost to TCU. Head scratcher. Like, what the heck are we doing? And then on the road, figured it would be kind of tricky because any Big 12 road game. But I mean, you were like, well, BYU, they've gone 3-8 over their last 11 games. Like, they've been aimless without Saunders. Nah, man. It wasn't it. They, well, let's go chronologically. No, let's not. Let's just talk about BYU. It's most recent. You lose that one 82-76. You had a 8-point halftime lead. And there were points in this game where it felt like you were not like playing with fire, but like it was kind of close, but it felt like you had a multiple possession lead until you went absolutely ice cold there later in the second half. BYU took over. They outscored you by 14, 44-30 in the second half. You had two players play all 40 minutes of your game. Donovan Atwell, Christian Anderson started and ended the game. Both finished with 23 points. Petty played 36 minutes. He had 14. Lawan Watts had 7 points on 18 minutes. Bamboye had 2 points on 22 minutes. Mosley, 5 points on 15 minutes. Akuntak, 2 points on 13 minutes. Tyree Bryan, 0 points on 16 minutes. He attempted 1 shot, grabbed 1 rebound, and recorded 1 assist in 16 minutes. Like you didn't even commit a foul. Like, you weren't out there to like protect somebody's foul. I mean, I guess Petty fouled out, so maybe you were trying to protect him. And Atwell finished with 3. Anderson only had 2. But
this team just doesn't have an answer if the three's not falling. They just really don't. And I'm not sure how to fix that because they refuse to drive to the basket and get fouled and get to the free throw line. They shot 8 free throws. 8. My gosh. Yeah. That's like a fifth of what that dude shot tonight.
This was a quarter of work for Attaboye.
Yeah, 8 free throws. BYU shot 19. Tech, like you said, went ice cold, shooting 63% from 3 in the first half, shooting 25% the second. Maybe drive to the basket. Maybe force them to foul you. Maybe try anything other than shooting 16 threes where you're clanking 12 of them.
Yeah. That also had a lot to do with your loss to TCU. You were clanking a lot of threes and then just not getting the ball inside much. I mean, I guess you had Atwell had a couple of 2-point attempts, but
that had a lot to do with your 3 wins without Toppin. The threes were hitting. Everybody was free and easy, having a great time. And then once they quit falling, there's nothing else. That's it.
Yeah. So in this game against BYU, from the field, you shot 55% in the first half, 38% from the second half. You were 12 of 19 from 3, which was 63% in the first half. You were 4 of 16 in the second half. You attempted just 6 free throws in the second half.
Dominated in the paint. BYU scheduled 48 points in the paint. Tech scored 14. So yeah, like you said, just a lot of settling, a lot of, well, let's keep trying. Let's keep trying the only thing we know to do, and it's not working, but that's what we're going to keep doing anyway.
From your perspective, from a more seasoned basketball viewer, Michael, what was your take on the antics from number 7, Kadeem Boop?
You'll have to fill me in. I didn't watch every second of this game because it was I am an old and I was tired.
So he finishes the game with 2 fouls, but I swear he was like hockey checking guys all night and like screaming in their faces. And like, they're like old school, like doing the horizontal clapping like in guys' faces. I was like, I remember when that used to be okay, and like we kind of thought it was cool for a guy to be all hyped up and be kind of demonstrative and like show, but like that's not been a thing in today's game. This dude was like, he was in Tech players' faces, and it like, as much as a lot of our guys are pretty even keeled, like it seemed like it was getting to them. Because they had no answer for this dude that played 25 minutes and scored 4 points. Like had a minimal impact on the score sheet. He had 6 rebounds, but was more like a goon, but got away with it.
Well, I mean, I saw Jalen Bristow get a technical just 2 weeks ago for clapping in someone's face. They still call it, typically. Maybe.
Not in Provo on Saturday.
She was on the road, though.
Yeah, he was at home. It's not a big fan. Also, because we were losing, and that always sucks.
Yeah.
I enjoyed watching Debanza shoot 1 of 6 from 3. That was fun. Kennard Davis Jr. was 0 for a minute. He finished 4 of 10. I think he started 0 for 5, but then finished 4 for 5.
White hot, yeah.
Wright missed the 3 threes he attempted. Like BYU was 6 of 26 from 3. And you're like, if a team is shooting that poorly from 3, like you feel like you should be in it, but like you were just dominated. Like you were missing your threes, and then you were out rebounded by 7 on the night. I don't have the half splits here, but I assume a lot of that came in the second half because like you were having 1-shot possessions. But there's just some concerns that are creeping back in. I think some of the things that we were concerned about when JT Toppin went down a few weeks ago. But then you won 3 games. You're like, well, I guess we're going to find a different way to win without him. But now it's like, well, if those different ways aren't working, there's nothing else there. And
Right.
then Lawan Watts, his game has regressed again at just a very poor time. I did see this tweet from Emery Lida that like he shot something like 30% from within 3 feet this season. It's like that's impressively bad. When I was talking about maybe scoring 40 points on 80 shots, like this was undefended. So give Watts some benefit here. Like he was playing in legitimate defenses, but to shoot one for every 3, to make one of every 3 shots from within 3 feet, and then to have the mind-numbing turnovers he's been dealing with, like what are we doing? It's rough. We figure that stuff out before we get to games that matter, because you lose going. You've got 2 tournaments ahead of you, and a loss in either one of those ends that run. So we'll see how that goes.
Finish strong. That's my motto tonight.
In tournament season.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's right.
So Big 12 tournament starts today, the 10th. Arizona State knocked off Baylor 89. I'm mixing numbers so badly.
You are, man.
83-79. Cincinnati knocked off Utah 73-66. BYU took out Kansas State 105-91. And then Colorado and Oklahoma State are ongoing.
It is 41-40 at half with Oklahoma State winning or leading. Sorry.
Leading
So with-
at the half.
So with Arizona State winning, they will play Iowa State, who's the number 5 seed, on Wednesday at 11:30 in the morning. And whoever's the winner of that game is who will face Texas Tech on Thursday at 11:30 in the morning. And Texas Tech's game will either be on ESPN or ESPN2.
So the winner of Iowa State, Arizona State on Thursday.
Correct. We'll find out tomorrow. A little after lunch.
Yeah, and then yesterday, Monday, the 9th, Big 12 announces their Big 12 players of the year and their teams. When the list first came out, I had some questions. I was like, what is going on? And I did some deeper digging. I was like, what is going on? So I'll just go through it real quickly. Player of the year was Arizona's Jaden Bradley. Sixth man of the year was Arizona's Toby Awaka. Coach of the year, Arizona's Tommy Lloyd. Good gravy. Defensive player of the year is Kansas' Flory Badunga. Newcomer of the year, Kansas's Melvin Council Jr. I had a head tilt, eye squint on that one too. Scholar athlete of the year, Iowa State Tamin Lipsey. Good job, nerd. Freshman of the year, AJ DeBansa, which was not really. I mean, there were some candidates there, but he was also kind of being considered for player of the year as well. And then most improved player of the year was Texas Tech's Christian Anderson. What were your initial impressions? Okay, so yeah, to your question, that almost felt like we got to put him somewhere.
I agree. I'm not saying he regressed or something, but I just
like I wouldn't say
everyone calm down. I was more impressed with him last year than this year, and that does not mean anything negative, even though it sounds negative. Does that make sense to you?
In the same sense of me saying like he was good, I wouldn't say he was most improved. Like he was good last year.
Yeah, I mean, what more was there to improve? Yeah, I think last year I was more impressed because he was a freshman and relatively unknown and doing all the things, or unknown to me, doing all the things he was doing. And this year, okay, you go in and you kind of expect him to do those things, and he did. I feel like we're saying the same thing, that he was obviously a standout player in the league and a standout guard in the country, really. And so they look at their list of stuff and was like, oh, we got to give him something. And didn't stop to think, yeah, well, man, he's scoring 5 points more a game this year. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if any of this is true. I haven't checked any of it. Maybe he is. But most improved? I'm not even sure if he's the most improved player on the team. I think Toppin really stepped it up this year.
There weren't many returners either. So,
well, I'm saying that if I had to pick most improved player of Texas Tech's team, I'd pick JT Toppin. And like you said, it's a small pool, but that just kind of feels a little forced. I'm glad he got mentioned. Anytime Texas Tech gets mentioned, anytime one of our players gets recognized, I'm here for it. Just a kind of a head scratcher.
Yeah. So I'm going to pull up a handful of players really quickly to kind of just compare really quickly. And let's also look at Darren Peters. I know there were some questions around what was going on with Darren Peterson this year. But, okay, set the table. Jaden Bradley was your player of the year. And I don't know if that what other impact you can measure here that's not on the stat sheet, but I'm going to just lay it out here. He played 30 minutes a game. He shot 46% from the field, 38% from three, 80% from the free throw stripe, 3.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 1.5 steals, 1.7 turnovers, 13.5 points per game. That's not best player in the league. If you look at Christian Anderson, which I wouldn't say he was best player in the league, but listen to this: 48% from the field, 43% from three, 80% from the free throw stripe, 3.7 rebounds, 7.8 assists, 0.3 blocks, 1.3 steals, 3.5 turnovers. That number jumped way up at the end. Everything on that list, except for turnovers, is significantly better, except for free throws and turnovers. Free throws were tied, turnovers were worse. But everything else was significantly better than Bradley.
All right, I think I'm walking some things back. So Anderson, I forgot how little he started last year. He only started 7 games, played 38. In those 38 games, he averaged 31 minutes. This year, he's averaging 39, 38.7. But his, okay, I think they've got a case here, Spencer. His field goal percentage improved from 42% to 48.
Mm-hmm.
3-point went from 39 to 43%. Free throws, he went down a little bit, but it doesn't really, it's so close, It doesn't matter. But here's the kicker. Went from 10.6 points a game to 19.2. Okay. All right. Hand up. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe he is the most improved player. And I'm just kind of thinking of the Christian Anderson that we saw towards the end of the season last year and, really come into his own in the Big 12. And maybe I'm kind of downplaying how much he has improved in the offseason. So that's on me. That's on me, guys. This may be it. He looks pretty good.
Okay, but let's compare these numbers, Kingston Fleming's to Jaden Bradley. He shot 48% from the field, 38% from three, 85 from free throw, 4 rebounds, 5.5 assists, half a block. He's in bed. You should be in bed too. Goodbye. 1.5 steals, 2 turnovers, 16.5 points per game. Again, most, if not all of those, are at least equal, if not better, than Bradley's. Melvin Council, 41% from the field, 33% from three, 76% from the free throw stripe, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, 1.8 turnovers, 13.5 points. That's pretty comparable. Darren Peterson, 46% from the field, 39% from three, 82% from the free throw stripe, 4+ rebounds, 2 assists, half a block, 1.5 steals, 19.9 points per game. Like, they just gave it to a guard on the number 1 team. When there were like I handpicked a couple of guys I could immediately think of. I didn't look at the guys from Iowa State. I didn't look any deeper into anybody else on the BYU roster. I didn't really even look at Debance's numbers, but they all surpassed that. Like, that one makes no sense.
And I don't know how Toppin shouldn't be in the conversation either.
Probably because he didn't end the season healthy.
I know, but my goodness, the stats I thought would have spoken for themselves. Oh, well.
Yeah. So the all Big 12 first team, Jaden Bradley, Braden Burries, Krivas, those are all from Arizona, and Debanca from BYU, Emmanuel Sharp and Kingston Flemings from Houston, Joshua Jefferson from Iowa State, Badunga from Kansas, Christian Anderson, JT Toppin from Texas Tech. That would be a pretty salty conference lineup if you were like to roll those guys out and like, hey, let's
like an all-star game.
Yeah. Second team, Richie Saunders, BYU, Baba Miller from Cincinnati, Taman Lipsey from Iowa State, Milan Momcilovic, and Darren Peterson. Third team, Koa Pete, Cameron Carr from Baylor, Rob Wright from BYU, Tamus Folks from UCF, and Xavier Edmonds from TCU. And you're wondering, wait a minute. Where's the guy that has shot legitimately one of the hottest shooters in the country? Where is he? Donovan Atwell. Barely made it on the honorable mention list.
I get, okay.
Well, and the newcomer team.
Well, he's also, okay, Momcilovic is the only guy in the league that has shot better from three than Atwell. Momcilovic has an insane 50% from three. And I think Atwell is a pretty equally insane 47%, something like that. At least in the Big 12 stats on their website earlier today. So I get Momcilovic making it and also because of how important he is to their team on the second team. But I have no idea why Atwell wouldn't make third team and why he's the only honorable mention.
No, he's not the only honorable mention. He's the only Texas Tech honorable mention. I didn't write the whole list out.
Okay. Well, that makes more sense because I was going to be really upset about that. I was going to.
No, that was a huge list, and I just sorry, not huge.
I was going to get riled. You don't have to pull it up. He's the only one we care about.
I'm already here now. Arizona, Toby Awaka. Baylor is Yusufu. Cincinnati was Chom. That's what it is. I had somebody even in the comments correct me. Colorado, Isaiah Johnson. Houston, Joseph Tugler. Milos Uzan. Kansas, Melvin Council Jr. Kansas State, BJ Haggerty. Parsa Fala from Oklahoma State. David Punch from TCU. Donovan Atwell. Honor Huff from West Virginia. And Terrence Brown from Utah. So there's the honorable mention list. Do you know how many 3-point shots Momcilovic and Atwell attempted this year? I need to look.
I thought they were pretty close. I think Atwell attempted more, but they were fairly close. Like it was the Momcilovic's 50%. Was it on, 50 of 100 or something? It was. I forgot where they were. They were in the 200s, I think. Maybe not. Maybe I'm making that up.
Well, Sports Reference has him at 7 7.4 Momcilovic, 7.4 3-point attempts per game. And Atwell is
There's a few more, or like point something more.
8.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a few more. Okay. So, not that I think like it was biased against any Texas Tech player. JT Toppin certainly has an argument to be considered there, but to pick Jaden Bradley, that just makes no sense, man. You just made it up. All right. Did we talk about the women's tournament already?
No, I'll do that. I can do that if you want. It was bad. It was really bad, Spencer. They lost 4 spots in the AP poll because of how bad they lost an opening game of a Big 12 tournament. It doesn't seem like you should lose spots that much, but then hear me out. I kind of don't blame them. So Texas Tech dropped from 21 to 25 in the AP poll. They're barely ranked right now after losing to Kansas State, who was the number 12 seed in the Big 12 tournament. Lost to them 58 to 51 on Thursday last week. That was another 11 a.m. game. Just loving putting Texas Tech on 11 a.m. whenever possible. So Texas Tech just really had some just droughts, massive droughts in the game, including the one at the end. Really lopsided quarters for both teams. So Texas Tech came out roaring 21-9 at the end of the first quarter. Kansas State answered 20-13 in the second quarter. Texas Tech really slow, muddlesome quarter in the third, but won it 13-8. And then here's where Texas Tech lost the game. So they scored their last point with 7:43 left in the game. Point, not field goal. That's it. They were up 51-37 at that point. They'd rattled off a pretty good run. You were feeling all right. You're like, oh man, up 14 with less than 8 minutes. Let's go. What happened next was a 21-0 run to end the game. Kansas State, during that last 8 minutes, shot 13 free throws. Texas Tech shot 0. They actually shot 0 for the entire fourth quarter. And I'm not an official. I'm not dogging the officials on this. This is just an epic collapse. You've got to get to the line. You can't allow Kansas State back in this. You can't keep fouling them. You can't give them 13 chances at the free throw line and allow a 21-0 run to end your weekend in Kansas City. So they played one game, lost 58-51. Just in about the worst fashion you can think of. We're just ice cold. They've been so cold from three the last 2 or 3 games. I'm not sure what's going on there. I hope they can turn that back around, but we'll find out. We'll find out who they play. Selection Sunday is at 7 p.m. this Sunday, and I've seen some projections showing that the Lady Raiders could be headed to Louisville as a number 6 seed, but I cannot remember. I think that was after this game. So we'll see. We'll see where they actually land in the first round. But man, this feels like a one and done team if they don't figure something out. Because how do you do that? How do you brick that many shots for 8 minutes and never get to the free throw line and just let Kansas State shoot 13 from the charity stripe? Unreal. Figure it out, Lady Raiders. I think last week I was all glowing because they won all their awards and was talking about how historical this season was, and all that stuff is still true, but it makes you rethink a lot of things when you see a game end like it did on Thursday against an 18-17 team who is 8-10 in the conference.
Yeah. So when you were, I got all kinds of distracted. I'm sorry, but when you were going through the scoring by quarters, reminded me. I was just curious, and then how much time was left when Texas Tech scored their last point. Why women play quarters and men play halves? I was reading this story. That the men's college teams, college basketball did play quarters from the 51-52 season to the 54-55 season, but then went back to 20-minute halves. And they are the only level of basketball that plays halves, where everybody else, except for men's college basketball, plays quarters. And even Adam Silver said he'd be a fan of shortening the professional game to 10-minute quarters. So, anyways,
well, in the women's game, it's relatively recent. It was halves too until
2015.
I had to look that up. 2015. So I remember when I was at Tech, it was halves, and then I just couldn't remember when it switched over.
Yeah, that's a lot more recent than I thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they play 40-minute games. Men play 40-minute games.
Yeah, the amount of games the same.
The 75-second intermission between the first and second and third and fourth quarters. Halftime's the same length.
I think it helps a little bit to reset the free throws.
Mm-hmm. They do
because it doesn't quite, sometimes you can have a quarter drag a little bit, whereas it may not be dragging if it was a half. But man, sometimes you're in the bonus the last 8 minutes of a men's game, and it is just brutal. Whereas with the women's game, usually that doesn't happen until the last 3 or 4 minutes of a quarter. So you may be getting it the same amount of bonus time, but it doesn't feel as bad because you're not getting it all at once.
Yeah. Anywho's, Selection Sunday for the women coming up on the 15th, 7 p.m. on ESPN. Lady Raiders projected as high as a 6th seed, going to Louisville. Texas Tech, the men's team, obviously will have to get through the Big 12 tournament first. Is it selection for both men and women's on Sunday?
Yes, I think the men are first, actually.
Well, there you go. So we'll know that first but the Big 12 tournament, and then the selection that will happen real close thereafter. I didn't watch any of the women's games on the new court. I'm sure I'll catch some of the men's, but I did see there was immediate criticism of the Big 12. Like, you went with an LED court and you could have literally put any design out there, and you ended up with the step and repeat of the Big 12. Not even the logo, but it was just one of the more distracting and busy court patterns you could have put out there. It's you could have done anything with this, and that's what you chose. So that was interesting to see. Funny, at least.
Yeah, I didn't. With that game at 11:30, we had a meeting. Anyway, I caught the rest of it on the radio while I was coming back from getting a sandwich somewhere, and yeah, I had planned on watching the Lady Raiders at some point in one of the upcoming games after this obvious dub against the number 12 seeded Jayhawks team, but nope, no go. So no, I haven't seen a game on the court either.
I'm pulling up the men's team. Yeah, it's like a dark gray base, and then the 12 Roman numeral is a lighter gray. I guess from the broadcast angle, it's actually not that bad, but the overhead shot, it was that's probably a little disorienting to look at. The seams between the individual panels, it makes it look so cheap. it doesn't look flat. Like it looks like the seams are raised up. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to do that again with how that's not displaying very well. That's the word I was looking for. Is the baseball game over? I was just trying to look for it.
It was a loss, 9-8.
Oh, way to go.
So UTSA gets a chance to go for the sweep on Wednesday. Tech scored 1 in the 9th. But I'm having trouble finding what else happened. Yeah, Logan Hughes walked to start off. Lincoln Garcia struck out. Caden Ferraro singled up the middle. And I believe Hughes scored on that. Matt Quintanar had a sacrifice fly. Oh, no. Hughes scored on that one. Sorry. And then Rusnick struck out swinging. And that was that. 1 on base.
Well,
and he was, where was he? Was he at second place or second base? Second place. I don't know where he was.
Okay. Let's start with softball. No, we're talking about baseball. Let's go with baseball.
Keep rolling.
So baseball falls tonight. UTSA, they're 10-5 now in the season. This past weekend swept Penn State, and man, Penn State's got a bad baseball team.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's got to be it. Not that like Texas Tech's any good, but Texas Tech scored 15, 21, and 14 runs this weekend. What is that? 40 runs? I can do math.
Penn State's 4-10 on the season, including that series.
Yeah. And they scored 17. So it was 15-7 in game 1 on Friday, 21-6 on Saturday, 14-4 on Sunday. That was a walk-off. I say walk-off. You ended the game in the middle of an inning because you hit the 10-run lead there in the 7th or 8th. And that was that on Sunday. But for as many runs as you're scoring, like I don't want to be too greedy here, but like you're giving up a lot of runs to not good teams defensively, especially pitching wise. You're not there. We saw that really come up against UTRGV when you started off that game, allowing them to score 8 runs in the first inning on so many walks. And then, you let, it was Cal State Bakersfield last week score a bunch of runs in a 4-game series. When you're winning games by 8 and 15 and 10 runs, it's like, well, why are you complaining? But like a 4-10 team should not be putting up 20 runs on you. So that I have lowered expectations for the baseball team this season. Offensively, they could be kind of fun. We'll see what they do, and they kind of re-enter some competitive play. It was not great when they started the season. I think you scored 3 or 4 runs that opening series tournament, whatever you want to call it, in Arlington. You did get some recognition on the weekend for Caden Ferraro, named Big 12 newcomer of the week. He went 7 of 9, hitting 2.229 OPS, reached base 10 straight plate appearances, scored 6 runs, had an 846 on base percentage, led the Big 12 in batting average with 471, which is good for 15th nationally. So congratulations to you, Caden Ferraro. Next up, we talked about the 2-game series tonight and tomorrow evening versus UTSA, drop the 1-9-8. And then you have your home Big 12 opener this weekend versus Kansas, Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon. So, and the next Tuesday at Dallas Baptist. Softball, Michael, 25-1, 3-0 on the Big 12 season. So if they're 3-0, you know they've had a perfect weekend, holding strong at number 2 in the rankings. Friday night versus Houston, they won 10-0 in 5 innings, 11-1 in 5 innings in game 2, and then 12-6 in game 3. I didn't follow every game. I watched quite a bit of one on Sunday. It was interesting to watch them roll through almost all of their star pitching. Like Caitlin Terry pitched, Nyjah Kennedy pitched, Rizzoletto pitched, and I'm forgetting the other one that ended up pitching. I guess I could open up the scorebook here. But you didn't have a single pitcher go very long. Nyjah Kennedy, Samantha Lincoln, Caitlin Terry, Michaela Garcia, and Chloe Riasetto. So Kennedy pitched the most at 58 pitches, Lincoln 55, Caitlin Terry 19. She may be my favorite player this season, which is saying a lot because, like, obviously not Nyjah Kennedy's a beast. Nyjah Kennedy's a beast. And everybody knows so much about her, but like Terry's doing it all. She went 2 for 5 from the plate, scored a run, but also pitched 2/3 of an inning, giving up a hit and a run. It was also an error. She had the complete game shutout. No hitter. That's what it was. I was trying to make sure it was the right. She had a no hitter last Saturday, the previous weekend. Her pitching arm, complete sleeve tattoo. It's just incredible to watch her play. And phenomenal addition this offseason. So they did that. We mentioned their game tonight in Stephenville was canceled. Then they have the home series this upcoming weekend versus number 14 Arizona. They are 20-5 on this season, 3-0 in Big 12 play. Nearly same times as the baseball team. They start 6 p.m. on Friday, baseball 6:30. Saturday at 2, same time as baseball. And then an hour earlier on Sunday, 12 p.m. versus a 1 p.m. Michael, you asked the question, which team would have better home attendance this weekend?
Yeah, and I thought it was more of a gotcha than it really is, because Dan Law seats like 4 times as much. So I don't think it wasn't as good of a question as I thought when I typed it. But maybe we could reframe it to, who will sell the most percentage of seats. Maybe we could reframe that. So we'll see. Maybe we keep up with that next week. I don't know.
Attendance percentage. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're a stickball fan and need any more incentive to pay attention to softball, man, as good as last year's team was, this one may be better and deeper at the very least. You've got players around Kennedy. I'm blanking on her name, Maya Davis. She's incredible too. It's just the team's loaded.
Yeah, and this is going to be a great series because Arizona, like you already mentioned their record and that they're ranked 14, but they absolutely dominated BYU this weekend in the opening series of their Big 12 campaign. And they run ruled them in every game.
Sounds familiar.
Yes, it does. So this could be a really good series. I was kind of hoping that maybe it would get picked up somewhere other than ESPN Plus, but we'll see. At least we can watch it. We'll take what we can get.
Yeah. All right. Because I can't help it, I want to pick some scabs here on Texas Tech football. Well, no, what I want to do is I want to defend Texas Tech football. So I mentioned in the open that Texas Tech has come in the crosshairs of some national talking head figures about non-conference scheduling and the overall perception of the Big 12. And they like to point out that Texas Tech, shoot, they're playing Abilene Christian next season. Sure, Texas Tech is. And
we feel the same way.
We don't love Abilene Christian being on the schedule. It is one of those regional FCS games that, like, if there was one to make sense, this one makes sense. You even have some connection on the coaching staff, like players that transfer out and down a level have been going to Abilene Christian, especially with Coach Patterson there on staff. A lot of players, not a lot of players, a lot of alumni, fans, alumni come from the Abilene area, big country. So, like, no, they're not like the best skill opponent matchup on the Texas Tech non-conference schedule. But if we're going to continue to have FCS opponents on anybody's schedule, it's whatever. But what they conveniently leave out is that Texas Tech has Power 5 grandfathered in, but a Power 5 opponent, Oregon State. And then Sam Houston State technically is a non-FCS opponent, but historically have been. Now, they were a good FCS program. Again, don't love that they're on the schedule. Next season, 27 is UAPB again. Then we had North Texas and NC State. So you have another Power 5, a Power 4 program return trip on a home and home. And then you got North Texas, who has been better the past few seasons. Now, granted, all their coaching staff and top players are now gone. But that wasn't the case when the schedule was built. And we'll get to that in a second. 28, SFA, Wyoming. And then we have an open spot here because Mississippi State decided that playing a power conference opponent was going to be too difficult now that the SEC was moving to a 9-game conference schedule. Oh, but wait, Michael. Did you know that the SEC requires all of its members to play 10 power opponent games on their schedule? So one more than one in the non-conference schedule.
They so just played themselves.
Why did they just cancel the one they already had in their schedule?
No
because
idea.
they didn't want to play Texas Tech. They didn't want to lose.
That's right.
And they saw what Texas Tech did this year and what they have been doing to set up. Because when the game was initially scheduled, we were probably more on even footing and probably had a lot to do with the Mike Leach connection. Let's be honest. But they canceled their one power conference opponent outside of SEC play. So they will have to go find somebody else to fill that. But also something else to note that Texas Tech doesn't get credit for, or that something else to be aware of. Texas Tech and Virginia Tech recently canceled their future home and home. This was announced back in January. I forgot this was even on the schedule for 34 and 35. These games are in 8 and 9 years from now. But you want to point out the Abilene Christian on our schedule, but you don't want to throw in there that Arkansas is on the schedule 3 times coming up. Fresno State, grandfathered in, but Washington State. Oh, and One of the podcast hosts' own Oregon is on the schedule.
Who ducked us last year, and that's why we had to play Oregon State. It's supposed to be a home and home, but that home and home is now going to get stretched out over almost a decade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the other thing with this isn't a good sign for Texas Tech, but hey, Abilene Christian almost beat Texas Tech a couple years ago.
Yeah. So
people forget that.
So you want to point out the Abilene Christian? Sure, we don't love it either, but also we've got Power 4 opponents on the schedule out into the 2034 season. One of the guys taking shots at Texas Tech in their homes in their scheduling has this on their non-conference schedule. Michael, Marshall at Temple, Buffalo.
Ooh.
Did you hear a Power opponent in that? I didn't. Syracuse. They've been trash, but you could pencil them on a line with Oregon State. They just added, as a few weeks ago, Maine and Temple. Good on you, Penn State, because you had Syracuse. You had to go find a cupcake somewhere. Maine, Ball State at Syracuse, and UMass. And then literally have nothing else after the 28 season on the books. You have one power opponent on here. They were on here twice, Syracuse. But sure, take a shot at Texas Tech for Abilene Christian when we've got 1, 2. We had a third one that got dropped because Mississippi State didn't want to play us. 3, 4, 5 power opponents on our schedule. You've got one. And then Oregon, the one that was taking the most shots. This was Dan. Boise State at Oklahoma State, Portland State this upcoming season.
I'm willing to give that when that was put on the books 5 years ago or whatever. That's a pretty salty schedule. I mean, and it includes a cupcake. That's fine. But yeah, Boise State's a wild card. Oklahoma State definitely was at the time. So I'm willing to give that a complete and total pass. That's a good non-con schedule based off what they probably knew then.
Then they followed up the next season. 1 second. My children are losing their minds. They should have been about an hour ago. 27. Eastern Washington, Baylor, Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky was just added 4 days ago. So up until a week ago, their non-conference schedule for next season was Eastern Washington and at Baylor. 2028, North Dakota State, Baylor. They're missing a third. They do have a couple of games already scheduled for 29. It's Portland State and Utah State. Although they also just mentioned or released that they have mutually canceled 2 other matchups between Utah State and Oregon. They've got Texas Tech on the schedule for 33. But look, another team that does not have any power conference opponents scheduled past 28. But you wouldn't take a shot at Texas Tech for having weak non-conference. You don't even have a non-conference schedule.
No.
And the ones on your schedule is Baylor.
They didn't have they only had a complete schedule for next year until the 6th of March. And they got 27 in order.
So again, in defense of Texas Tech, you kind of made the point a second ago. When were these games scheduled? For whatever reason, these games get scheduled decades in advance. And let's be honest, what were the objectives in scheduling these games for Texas Tech? You wanted to find wins because you needed to get to 6, 7, 8 wins. Now, has that objective changed? Yes. I would say in the past 18 months, you've been like, you know what, we can do better. We should be doing better. But these schedules are put out so far in advance. You may be able to do something now for 2028, unless you're going to be reshuffling and messing up everybody else's schedule. Now that you've got a gap there, Oregon's got a gap there in 28, but I doubt they want to move their game back up from 2033. They're probably pushing it so far out that they hopefully it just gets dropped off and canceled. But when the people that make these schedules made them 5+ years ago for Texas Tech, it was to find wins. And yes, there are some times when we have FCS games scheduled because there's some generosity there to help subsidize those programs, because without these types of games, a lot of those other FCS and smaller teams will go under because they just don't make enough, and they need these kind of buy games to pay the bills. I would love, actually, to figure out a way to still pay these programs, but to bring them in for the spring game. So make an exhibition game in April, Texas Tech versus Evelyn Christian. Get them off the fall schedule, the actual counting schedule. Pay for them to come in like you normally would and have a decent product to put on the field for a spring game.
I wouldn't hate that. I don't think.
Still play the UAPBs, the Stephen F. Austins, the UTRGVs, because they're trying to come up.
That's right. They do have a football team. I learned that during the baseball game.
But play them in the spring. Pay them so they can do their things. Let them play more, a schedule on their level in the fall. Like, it just doesn't make sense why there's a crossover there, except to pay bills. Like, we'll do that in the spring. Anyways, I've extended the invitation for either one of those guys to join us to talk about it. I doubt they'll even see or read or react to the tweet. But yeah, you want to take a shot at Texas Tech? I've got receipts, man. Don't be pointing at Texas Tech's weak non-conference schedule when the thing you can thump your chest about is Baylor. Suck on it, dude. Baylor? You want to talk about Texas Tech's weak non-conference and the toughest team on your schedule is Baylor? Get out of here with that. All right, let's get to questions and wrap this thing up, man.
Okay. I have a question for you. One, do you consume or read or listen to books, just in general?
Yes, but it's not consistent.
Okay. So my question is, how do you do that? Because there's so many options now, which it doesn't seem like there would be. People are like, Michael, it's just you read the book. No, there's Kindle, there's Libby with the library, so you can rent things for your Kindle. You can just go to the library. You can buy a paper book. You can go secondhand book. You could get a paper book from the library. You can borrow audiobooks. You can get a membership to Audible, and you can get a free book every month. All of these things. And I just wanted to know what's your most, what do you consistently choose when you do decide to read a book?
It's audiobooks, and it's through Libby and Hoopla.
Oh, Hoopla, yeah.
Because you turned us onto that a couple years ago. Because they're set up through the libraries where you could rent audiobooks for a certain time period, listen to them and return them. I went through a good chunk of the John Grisham library this summer, driving back and forth to Lubbock.
Oh, gosh, I bet you did.
In the car for 18 hours over the weekend, And at time and a half speed, I was getting through like 30 hours of novel. So it was like a book and a half. Granted, those that have read or listened to a John Grisham novel, if you've read one, you've read them all. But did that. We are, as a family, going through the Harry Potter series again. We just finished 5 today. We're doing a little miniature road trip tomorrow. So we're probably going to see if we can get 6 and get started on that one, since we'll be in the car for a number of hours. Yeah. I like the idea of buying a book and reading it. I never pick up a book and read it. I couldn't tell you the last time I've picked up a book, a physical copy of a book, and read it. And that's sad.
Well,
But-
I do like to read. Actually, you know, I enjoy audiobooks too, but for some reason, it seems like between football and spring, I only find time to read, to just straight up read. But then between spring and fall, when summer's hitting and there's a lot of yard work and traveling and all that kind of stuff, then I'll dive back into the audiobook section and start going into that. So I primarily do use my Kindle though. And what spurred me to ask you this was because I've gotten really out of the habit of buying physical books, just because there's only a handful that I know that I'm going to reread or that I would love to let someone borrow or something like that. There's just not that many. And so I've kind of carved it down to where those are the ones that I keep, or those are the ones that I buy when I see them. And so I'm about to do that. There's the prequel to Lonesome Dove is called Comanche Moon. And I read Comanche Moon 5 or 6 years ago, something like that, maybe a little bit more.
I think I remember you talking about it.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed it. And my best friend, the Ace Man, he just got it for Christmas, and so he's about to start reading it. And I was like, man, I've been thinking about rereading it myself, and I actually bought a hard copy of it. I bought a hard copy of it and Lonesome Dove at the secondhand bookstore a month or two ago, planning on rereading those someday. And what I did yesterday, though, was I also bought it on Kindle, just because it's so much easier to read at night, especially you don't feel like you're waking somebody up. You don't have a light on. You can read it on your phone. It'll sync to your phone and stuff. So I could read during my lunch break at work, which I've done, and stuff like that. So that was the main reason I asked it, because this is the first time I've done it, but it may not be the last, where I actually own the physical book. It is sitting on my bookshelf, but I used digital credits, so that helps. So it was only 49 cents for me to buy the Kindle version. But yeah, I'm trying not to get in the habit of buying two copies of the same book.
Yeah, I love the look of books, especially when you get them from the same publisher and they have the same jacket style. I don't have, like, there's something about my brain chemistry when I start reading, it's monotonous enough that it puts me to sleep.
Yeah, I get
Like,
it.
it could be the most exciting content, but sitting there being still and doing something repetitive like that is just enough to put me to sleep.
I checked out the latest Lincoln Lawyer book last week from the library, just the physical book. And I try to read a physical book at least 2 or 3 a year, something like that, and I really enjoyed it. So I've done that off and on, and I'm kind of going through, I'm going through Stephen King's Dark Tower series, and I'm about to start. I kind of try to time it to where during summer I read it, and that is something that I will consume like 3 different ways. Sometimes I get the audio book, and then when it runs out, I get the hard copy book from the library, and or when it runs out, I get it on Kindle and have my airplane mode, and I'm kind of like switching between all 3. And so I will do that this summer at some point. I'll read the 5th one. I'm just kind of working my way through that, but yeah, I gravitate towards the Kindle these days. It's such a pleasant experience, and mine has the backlight, so I can. If those random nights where you wake up at 3 a.m. and you can't go back to sleep, I can flip open the Kindle and know I'm not going to wake up the whole house.
Yeah. Like I said, would love to, but I can't stay awake when I'm reading. Hearing you talk about it, but what's your like preferred genre? Because I have a recommendation in mind. I've probably told you about it before, but I just don't know if it's going to be up your alley.
Well, if I'm going by just the 3 most common things I read, I really like detective/lawyer novels because I've read a bunch of Michael Connelly stuff with the Bosch and the Lincoln Lawyer stuff and Ballard. And sci-fi, I really enjoy sci-fi. I've read Dune, have read the 3 Body Problem series. The first 2 books of Dune. I haven't read all the others. Ender's Game, that whole series. And then Westerns. Something set in. I'm reading this book right now called The Time It Never Rained. And it's set in around San Angelo in the 50s during an awful drought. And it's following this rancher and all the hardship that he's endured. And hopefully I'll finish it tonight so I can start Comanche Moon. But yeah, I'd say it's kind of all over the place. Westerns, sci-fi, and lawyer / detective novels, which I have read some John Grisham that I've really enjoyed.
Okay. So the more I tell you about this book, the more you may roll your eyes, but just understand it was like a really fascinating read. I actually listened to it, so I didn't read it. Have you heard of The Chemist?
I don't know. It sounds familiar, but I don't think so.
So Stephanie Meyer wrote it. Try to get past that for a second. It's a romantic thriller, but it's not like romance. Spy fiction.
I read one called the Ministry of Time that my wife recommended. It's kind of similar. Yeah, there was a romance involved, but it was also about time travel. So you're like, oh, okay, I'm on board.
Okay, let me see if I can find a plot synopsis I can read to you that's not going to give it away, or not. That's not going to give it away. Not have any spoilers in it. The protagonist is an expert in interrogation for a clandestine government agency.
Okay.
But then she becomes the hunted. So she's on the run to survive a hit on her.
Well, all right. I've got it. I've added it to my list.
And it's, I think, relatively short. It's not a Stephen King thing. It's not a series. It's not a movie yet. I would love for it to be a movie, but
you know what? He's his own genre. I've read a lot of him recently, and I wouldn't even know what to. I'm not really into the horror ones necessarily, but he's got this Mr. Mercedes series that was really good. That's about a detective, so that's probably what kind of lured me in on that. I read all of those, and then there's a spin-off of that about a private eye who was part of that series. And I just recently read Misery though, and that boy, that was tough. It absolutely was. But yeah,
it's not just a title; it's a heads up.
I know. I've got The Stand on Kindle that I'll probably. I don't know if I'll ever read it, but I've got it. But yeah, his stuff. I don't know. I feel like he's his own genre because
yeah, for sure.
I just kind of know what I'm going to get when I read his stuff. It's going to be something kind of funky. The Outsider was one of my favorites of his, and the Industry. No, not the Industry. The Institute. The Institute. Those are two of my favorites of his I've read. Yeah, I've added I added that to my list. Summer reading season. We're almost there.
Yeah, almost there. Let's wrap this up with what we learned. And we got one thing on the docket tonight. We need to know how our court queens did. in the tournament?
The Court Queens, they were. Let's see, what were they? They were a
They were
4
5 seed,
seed
weren't
in
they?
the tournament. No, they were a 5 seed. They were a 5 seed in the tournament. Played a plucky 6th seed, and went down swinging 6-3.
Ouch.
Tough game. Lots of bricks up that night. I think the 3 points was scored by the same girl. She made a free throw and she made a basket, which is great. I was really happy for her because a game or two earlier she made a basket at the wrong goal, and I was working the scoreboard and I had to count it. It just really hurt. just hurt for everybody. So was really happy for her. But yeah, the Court Queens made a quick exit, much like the Lady Raiders, on their one and only shot for victory in the tournament. I was going through here, Spencer, and the last 2 games, if this score is right, and they are, I mean, they keep stuff accurately. The last 2 games in this league ended with scores of 1-0. one 1-0, including the championship game, which pitted the number 1 seed 10-0 team pre-playoffs versus the 8-2 team. And the 10-0 team, of course, by then that put them 12-0. They won the championship game 1-0.
I'm sure it would have been a super, like, for the parents and families involved, like, nerve-wracking, because, like, it's one thing to be back and forth, but, like, for it to hinge on literally any possession, a 1-point game, 1-0.
Not just, but like back-to-back games. It's crazy.
That's crazy.
So, another thing I mentioned just in passing. So, I appreciate all the refs donating and/or probably not getting paid enough for their time, whichever it may be. I especially appreciate all the coaches. We had a great experience with the Cooper Hoopsters this year. We will be back. I do wish
Run it back.
Run it back. I do wish, and probably we will see this next year because our little one will be in a grade higher, that they would call double dribbling a little more heavily, because at some point it's cheating. At some point, when the offensive player knows that when they pick up the ball, the defense, the player that's defending them can get up on them. And then, oh, guess what? Well, I'm just going to turn and go around you and start dribbling again. That's cheating, man. That's it. Enough. You once we're 10 games into the season, I don't want to see it anymore. No more double dribbling. And then you're not allowed to double team. You're not allowed to double team either. So no one can technically pick her up once they get around your player who is 35 feet from the basket, who got herself in a bind. And so now your girl's guarding her. And then, oh, well, luckily I picked up my dribble, but I have infinite dribbles and I can just elbow by you and dribble back towards the basket. And then sometimes I can pick it up and do it again. No.
So I guess the coaching defense there is like, even if they don't pick it up, don't close in on them.
That's kind of it. You're supposed to stay with your player. They don't like make them shoot technicals or anything, but every now and then it is really obvious that there's some girl who's obviously not guarding her player. She's just going to the ball, whoever has the ball. And so they'll pick it out and call it but yeah, it's really tough to enforce. And once they get into the lane, they really kind of let it go quite a bit. But yeah, if someone, because you can't press, so if there's one ball carrier coming up court and then all of a sudden 2 girls are guarding her at half court, they're like, oh, okay, hang on. No, you can't do that. You got to find your person, guard your person. But also don't let that same player who I know can dribble and who I know knows the rules pick up the ball let the defender come to them, and then dribble around them. Stop it. That's cheating. End of rant.
That's like one of those fundamental basketball rules. That
Yes.
like
One of the most fundamental there is. You pick the ball up, you got to shoot it or pass it. Those are your options.
you can't like number of steps you can kind of like, okay, we can rein that in as we get older, but like the double dribble thing, that's like at some point that's just like you just got to know that. Like in baseball, you get tagged, you're out. It's just it happened. It could be, hey, look, these are 4-year-olds. We're learning the game. But like that stuff ends like, I don't know. It just feels like, I don't know. There's probably not enough parallels to draw there, but interesting. Yeah, that seems like it was coached into the offensive team. Like, hey, pick up your dribble, let your defender close in, and then drive around them.
Just go around him. Oh, oops. Oh, was that a double dribble? My bad. I mean, and yeah, pivot foots, all that. Let that slide. Obviously, because that's what they do. They slide around anyway. And it's really not a problem.
Just shuffle.
Just shuffle. But, you feel like 8-9 games into the season, you see kids picking it up twice on a possession and then dribbling again. Like, no, sir, ma'am, no whoever.
Yeah,
that's not how this works.
All right, well, that'll do it for us on the 23 Personnel Podcast. We'll be back with a Big 12 tournament wrap up and a preview into the March Madness run. Get you caught up on softball and baseball. I guess we'll be talking about the future recording schedule of the 23 Personnel Podcast. We'll get to that next week. For Michael, I'm Spencer. We'll catch you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to the 23 Personnel Podcast. Help us out by subscribing, rating the show, and leaving a review. Follow us on Twitter at 23 Personnel, Spencer at PuntSuck, and Michael at Michael_LBK. Be sure to catch the next episode. And until then, guns up and let the tortillas fly.